Welcome to the Men Are Forged podcast, where we are building men for lasting success and a meaningful life. I'm your host, Cartwright Morris, a certified life and career coach here in Birmingham, Alabama. Please check out menareforged.com to see my coaching, my courses, as well as some other content. What I do full-time is I coach with a counseling firm called calvertandassociates.com. I do virtual meetings, so please look on calvertandassociates.com and schedule a session with me today. I also do life coaching as well as career strategy sessions. So if you're stuck in your career, you're feeling a lack of meaning, a lack of lasting success, things that feel like you're just kind of going through the motions, not building anything, or just need some sanity, please reach out to me at menareforged.com or calvertandassociates.com. All right, here's today's episode. All right, welcome to the Men Are Forged podcast. I got Stephen Scoggins here with me, coming from Raleigh, North Carolina, just up the road. Good to have you, Riley.
Dude.
Riley.
It's all good, man. No, man, I'm excited to be here, dude. I love spending time with people that are changing lives. So appreciate all the work you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's exciting. So, so the first question I generally ask, and this could be in a positive way or even in a negative way, but like, who are your first early influences? Like mainly people who influenced you, who shaped your thinking that, led you to who you are in your 20s and maybe even further down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's interesting when you look at your life and you start picking things apart, right? You start picking apart those different influences. You don't really realize whether or not they're positive or negative when you're actually having them as influences, right? So my parents, unfortunately, didn't spend a lot of time with my early adulthood, so to speak, my youth. My father, unfortunately, struggled with alcohol for a number of years. He's been clean and sober for a long time now, great-grandfather. Awesome. So props to him. My mother, on the other hand, suffered a lot from previous abuse systems prior to my father just growing up. So both of them had kind of had their own like struggle bus kind of things they had to work on, like we all do, right? So my earliest memory of my very first person that really, I think, made a huge impact in my life was a woman by the name of Barbara Oakley, a.k.a. Nanny, so my grandmother. Yeah. She had spent some time, raising myself, my little brother, until around the age of 9, when she came to me and told me that basically she had been diagnosed with cancer and she needed some help around the house. And she proceeded, literally, I had a G.I. Joe in one hand and Transform in the other. Snake Eyes was beating up Bumblebee like on a daily basis and, all that kind of stuff. And, I immediately started learning that I had a knack for and a desire for, as well as an aptitude for taking care of other people. She taught me how to boil water and make oatmeal and hot dogs, all this kind of stuff to take care of my little brother and him for a little, or little brother and her for a little while. She unfortunately passed away when I was 11. Then I went to go live with my dad over here in what we call Fuquay, North Kakalaki, aka Fuquay, North Carolina, out by a cow pasture and where he was still doing construction work and things of that nature. And immediately got introduced to the construction trade. Now, my father had an interesting influence on me in that he taught me outstanding work ethic. One of the things that I'm really strong even today on is just work ethic. I'm a doer by nature. If I don't know how to do it, I'll watch enough YouTube so I can figure it out. Right. So, we kind of have this scenario, but he wasn't super strong in character traits for relationships or finance or personal development or life mastery or identity or mindset, like all these different things. Unfortunately, he struggled with.
Right.
Contrast that to his employer, who became my first mentor and like a father figure role in my life, which is a man by the name of Steve Myrick. Now, Steve Myrick was a multimillionaire, had built his business from the ground up, so completely self-made, was a home builder in the North Carolina and the South Carolina area. And for some reason, from the time that I first met him all the way to the time he passed away, he took a genuine liking in me. Right now, when he passed away, when I wrote my first book, I actually went back and had my writer friend go and interview the people in my story to make sure I was telling the truth. Right. Because, memories get kind of a little blurry and vague. Like I remember it this way, kind of, And I swear to God, I was 6 foot tall. I'm not sure how I ended up 5'5", but go and ask her. I said, well, why did Steve choose me? Why did he help me?
Yeah.
And she said very shortly, she said, well, it's because Steve saw himself in you.
Ah.
So apparently he also grew up in a challenging adult environment, young adult environment, and proceeded to kind of, and so, I assume that people around him taught him a different way. He had a business acumen, he had a passion, but one of the things I admire most about Steve specifically was the fact that he would actually take the time to go to local restaurants, and he used to frequent this barbecue joint that we'd all frequent not too far from the house. Mm-hmm. And it was not uncommon for him to leave $1,000 tip under a bag of hush puppies or a basket of hush puppies.
Oh, wow.
Right. He would see a single waitress. I mean, there's no father in the picture. She's out there busting her hump. She's trying to take care of her family. Sometimes I think the one woman that I actually witnessed myself had 2 kids. He would overhear the conversations because, like the counter you'd pick the food up from was like, maybe 5 foot away. And he would overhear her talking about not being able to pay a light bill and, to the, her little coworkers. And it was not uncommon for him and his wife to leave $1,000 tip under the basket of hush puppies. They would walk out the door. She would come and find it. She would get totally wrecked, right? Yeah. Crying, praising God. God answered my prayer, like all this kind of stuff. And I just knew that I didn't want to be like my father was at the time, which was someone who would borrow money but not repay. Mm-hmm. But I did know that I wanted to be more like Steve, who also, not only did he have resource, he freely gave of that resource on a regular basis. And the only other person that's been really instrumental and pivotal in my life outside of those is a woman by the name of Susan Batts, who was my high school girlfriend's mother. Gotcha. She had a nickname called Mama Wama. Yeah. Because for some reason she named me Sugar Wooga when I was dating her daughter. Yeah. And she was, I'm serious. Yeah. She was like Steve Myrick in that she actually, for some reason, took a liking to me and actually literally provided clothing and food and all kinds of stuff when my father was still going through a very tough time financially. Yeah. And later on, she would be the catalyst of 11 words that changed my life and ultimately saved my life that led me on to then one day founding businesses. So those are probably the most instrumental people I've had in my life that have actually given me the most value that have kind of created me that now allows me to want to create other people.
Yeah. What were the 11 words?
This too shall pass, and what comes next will be greater.
How about that? That's good.
3 weeks later, I started my first company by pulling lumber out of a trash pile, and that company became one of 7 businesses I still own to this day that generates well into the 8 figures in revenue and employs hundreds of people across a couple few states.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really
so she was right.
Yeah. And so now, I mean, it seems like you're putting a lot of what they saw in you into what you're doing and living out today. What do you feel like Steve and your girlfriend, I'm trying to remember her name.
Girlfriend's mother. Mama Wama, man.
Mama Wama. Yeah. What do you think they saw in you? What was it that really drew them to say, hey, I need to put time and energy into this young man? Today's episode is brought to you by Thrive Marriage Lab. If you want your marriage to thrive, this is a great opportunity to you, because strong marriages are the bedrock of strong churches, organization, families, and community. This is a 12-month pathway for any of you that are looking to really have weekly engagement with experienced marriage counselors, not just one, but many. So go to restory.life/thrive to get on the waiting list for this great program that starts in April. That's restory.life/thrive. And make sure you put the word Forge in the promo code to receive a discount on your monthly fee. Now, back to the episode.
Yeah, so I'm so glad you asked that, because here's the one thing I would say, especially when I was in my late teens, early 20s, and kind of mid 20s, one of the things that I struggle with more than anything else is, who am I supposed to be? How am I supposed to do it? Where am I supposed to go with it? Yeah. And the reality is, in some cases, you're asking the wrong questions, and I know I was. Because here's what I discovered. While everybody else is searching for purpose over here and over here and over here, maybe this job will give me purpose. Maybe this relationship gives me purpose. Maybe this stuff that I bought gives me purpose or gives me identity. Yeah. All of that stuff is empty. However, what is full is the greatest purpose in life you'll ever have is serving the person you used to be.
How about that?
So if you think about it, Steve Myrick served the person he used to be.
Yeah.
Mama Wama served the person she used to be. And now I've dedicated my life to serving the person I used to be, which are people who are what I refer to as sojourners.
Yeah.
Sojourners are people who are searching essentially for the next level within their life, but they have a very keen understanding that comes directly out of that quote. And the keen understanding is this: in order to serve the person you, quote, used to be, you have to continually becoming more of who you're supposed to be.
More of who you're supposed to be. Yeah.
Right? So tie those two together. If you stay where you are, especially when I was in my young 20s, right? I identified with, I want to live in a nice big house. I want to have the Jag. I want to have the Porsche. I want to have all this stuff. And if I get that stuff, then I'll attract the lady of my dreams. And then I'll attract the people of my dreams. And then I'm going to live out, what Grant Cardone lives out every day, right? Running around and, flying jets and all kinds of stuff. Now, inherently, there's nothing wrong with stuff as long as the stuff doesn't own you.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's good.
And when I was in my 20s, one of my greatest struggle points was, and this ultimately led me to becoming homeless, was the fact that at one time, Steve gave me a first chance that I was able to generate quite a bit of money, but I had the money, I had the income, but I didn't have the character to steward it.
Right.
And what do people do when they're given high levels of resource, but no character to steward it? You blow it.
You blow it. Yeah, happens every time. We have a long list of history of people doing that. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, the first thing that most of us dudes go and do is we go buy a cool car, a cool truck.
Yeah.
That depreciates immediately. Right?
Yeah.
Steve taught me to invest in things that create more. Invest in things that create more. So in other words, you don't pay for things that are not going to increase in value. And if you do pay for something that's not going to increase in value, it shouldn't be so nice that it costs you everything.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's the element, especially in the mid-20s, the late 20s, man. We have it all wrong. We've got it all wrong.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We should be focused on becoming more of who we are, right? So you determine your gifts, you determine your strengths, you determine all the things inside of you that you do naturally well, that a lot of your coaches and mentors, I know this is one of the things you probably do like I do. You can take a young man and you can say, dude, you're gifted at this, this, and this. And he's like, what are you talking about? What are you talking? How? I don't see that.
Never.
It's because you're too close to it, man.
Yeah.
You don't see that you're a rock star soccer player or a rock star accountant or a rock star musician or we're all rock stars in our own right in a specific area. The quicker you identify that and develop that along with the character beside it, the quicker you go from what I like to refer to as from stuck to unstoppable.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause there's something when you said that's kind of a charged word with a lot of guys I meet with is like, be more of the person you're supposed to be. What you're supposed to be. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. But I think you just laid it out there. Do things that increase value, discover what you are naturally good at. Yeah. And I think that's such a hard journey for men to go on. And I mean, what was that like for you? Just figuring out, man, what do I love to do? What am I good at? What gives me energy? What helps others? Yeah. What was that journey like for you?
I mean, so a couple different things. So first of all, I'm going to go back to I want to answer the question just a second. I want to go back to just real fast of discovering the person who you're supposed to be. Cause again, that's like, that's what I'm doing. I'm struggling. No.
But most guys do, like you said, take that from a material. Like I got to get the house,
because we're taught
kids. Yeah.
We're taught so early on that we have to be the provider and we have no value unless we can provide at a high level. Right. That is for a lack of a better word, over here in the South, that's what we refer to as cotton picking lie. You hear me? Right? And
amen, brother.
You got
your heart.
Understand that. Yeah. Right. Check this out. So The Rock, right? Everybody knows who The Rock is, right? Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. You got the big eyebrow, right? Throw the eyebrow up, do the whole thing, right? He said something very interesting when he was making the transition from the WWE or the WWF, depending on which time frame you're watching, right?
Right.
All the way into the movies. And someone asked him, they said, how did you become the most electrifying man in sports entertainment, right? Yeah. With your arm thrown up. He said this. He said, all I did was I amplified who I already was.
Oh, wow.
That's all you do. All right. So going back to your question, what are things that I do naturally well that if I amplify it, I can make a larger impact? And ergo, constantly becoming more of the person I'm supposed to be. First of all, I naturally encourage people. I naturally teach people. I naturally guide people. I naturally use real, authentic, transparent experience to help people see themselves in my journey as I'm seeing them in their journey.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm naturally gifted at speaking. It doesn't hurt me to get up on a stage and talk to people from my heart. Right. I'm naturally passionate. I'm naturally driven. And maybe you've realized this, but I'm naturally kind of bold.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
A little bit. Yeah.
That's what it takes, right?
Yeah.
It's how do I use that to then develop business? Well, I'm a natural risk taker. All right. I don't get terrified as some might to take a big risk. Right. When I started building out live events and bringing thought leaders from all over the world to come put on major conferences, I didn't do so without risk. I didn't do so without a little bit of fear and trepidation. But I didn't let the fear and trepidation own me. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's where everything comes into. You look at, okay, what do I naturally do well? What are things that other people tell me I do well that I maybe not realize it? So the easiest one is I had this young man one time, he was working at the front counter of a gym. And he was like, man, I'm searching for my purpose. I think he's 22 at the time, searching for my purpose. I'm searching for all this kind of stuff. And I kind of gave him like a crash course, kind of what we've done already.
Right.
He said, well, I don't know what I'm good at. I said, dude, I have been seeing you all behind this counter for a year and a half, every single day. Every single day, you make every single person come through that door feel like they're seen, valued, and heard.
Yeah.
Every single day. Every single day, you are selling them supplements and all kinds of stuff, and you're doing it naturally, right?
Yeah.
So maybe you should look at sales. Maybe you should look at a natural path of encouragement, right? The tricky part is to always be teaching someone and learning from someone at all times.
Teaching and learning, yeah.
Okay. You teach the people who are technically behind you, meaning they're not at the level that you are, based on the wisdom that you currently have. And you learn from people in front of you who have the character, the integrity, and the evidence to back up what they're teaching you is real. If you just have the evidence of learning what's basically real, but no character and integrity, they're what we call in the faith world a false prophet. Yeah. And you probably should stay away. All right. So what you want to do is you're going to want to actually take the time to dig in deeper. Yeah. So go to someone like yourself, man, Cartwright, who actually will say, look, let's do a gifts and talents assessment. Let's go through this. You can go to JourneyPrint or go to StephenScoggins.com/resources, get the ebook that I have that comes with a free personality assessment, a $97 free personality assessment called Understanding What Drives You. I'm sorry. No, we renamed it. The number one thing holding you back is what the new name is.
That's good.
All right.
Yeah.
Go get that thing. It's free. Go grab it. Right.
Yeah.
It's going to give you a whole list of stuff you're good at and a whole list of stuff you got to be aware of. Hello.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
That's good.
And that's how you become more of the person you're meant to be. So all I'm doing is doing what The Rock told me to do, which is amplify what's already there, baby.
That's right. That's right. You smelling what The Rock's cooking. Yeah. I'm a big fan, so I appreciate that reference. Yeah. So you said something. What was that for you? Was there a moment? Was there a time in your life where you kind of started figuring out like, all right, I gotta start owning this, figuring this out. When did that change? You start realizing all these natural things and it really started. Yeah. The momentum in your life started really throwing you in a certain way. Yeah.
Look at it this way. There's seed, there's stalk, and there's plant. All right. Yeah. So just think about a traditional tree. So the very first seed that was ever planted in my mind was actually planted by Steve Myrick himself. And my audience has heard me say this 1,000 times. They're probably sick of it, but it's true. Yeah. Is what's the difference between a rich man and a poor man? Okay. It was a question he asked me. Okay. And I was like 16 or 17 at the time. I'm like, well, duh, money. He's like, absolutely not. Yeah. Right. Because again, my response was directly connected to what we're taught as young men growing up, be a provider, right? He said, absolutely not. It's the way they think. Yeah. Now, the next question he asked me stabbed me in the heart in a good way. He said, Stephen, do you want to learn to think like me or your father? Yeah. Right? So you've got to be willing to look at your closest relationships and actually say, Do I want to continue thinking like that? In other words, do I want what I see their lives are? Okay. Or do I want what that young man over there, that man over there, my aspirational mentor, if you will, has?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That tells you which way you lean, which way you walk towards.
Yeah.
Which tells you who you listen to. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that was the number one thing that he told me. Unfortunately, that didn't become the stalk. That was the seed. The stalk actually became when I finally understood that my identity was not tied to my mistakes.
Yeah.
Everything that I lived up to, all the boo-boos I'd made, all the straight up like screw ups I'd made, even the one that led me to being homeless, for example.
Mm-hmm.
All of that stuff did not have to become the label on my forehead. High school dropout, ADHD kid, dyslexic guy, never going to amount to anything, failure, broken hood, broken parents. We choose to wear those labels. What we're trying to do now is we're trying to say, people, rip off the label and then write in what you want.
Yeah.
All right. So there's 3 questions that people rarely ask. Like seriously, actually will sit time, pen, paper, in the quiet, 30 minutes, and actually ask these 3 questions. What do I want?
Really?
Like,
and they don't
what do I want
the
in my finances? What do I want in my relationships? What do I want in my profession? What do I want my legacy to be?
Yeah.
Right? If tomorrow was not coming, what would my legacy be now? You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's the first question is, what do I want? Second question is, why do I want it?
Yeah. Why do I want it? Yeah.
The reason you have to do that is because if your motives are not pure, your outcomes will be deadly.
Yeah.
If your motives are pure, then your outcomes will be beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because money is, for example, we'll take money. Money is a tool. Okay. Mm-hmm. In the hands of a wise investor, it creates more. In the hands of someone who's broke, it creates less. Money itself is a tool wielded by the person who's using it.
Yeah.
All right.
Uh-huh.
So if my motive is to get money to show off to my friends, which I have done, then you will end up broke. If your goal is to create wealth or create legacy or create a rapid transition for yourself moving forward, and you understand that you invest in things that become more investable, or you invest in things that become scalable, or you invest in things that become more, you're automatically going to be on a different track record, especially if that more leads you to serving more people.
Right.
I can tell you from personal experience, I have generated well into 9 figures in revenue in my lifetime. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
None of the crap that came with the resources made any difference in the world. No car, no house, no nothing. I know it looks cool when you swipe it on Instagram, but I know it looks cool when you get in it. And it feels great when you first buy it. Mm-hmm. Look, when you first buy it and you hop in that new C8 Corvette or whatever you're driving and you hop in that seat for the first time, for the first 3 weeks, you're like, man, this is awesome. Right.
Right. Yeah.
And then 3 weeks later, it's like, this is a cool car. And you woke up at the gas station, someone said, hey, nice car.
Right.
Thanks, man. You see what I'm saying? What does make you happy is when you see that your resources, the investment that you're making in yourself, the investment that you're making in your family, the investment you're making with your friends, the investment you're making in your community benefit the lives of others, because they'll do just like I'm doing right now. At some point in time, someone else will be speaking your name, just as I'm speaking Susan's and Steve's. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Right. That's so good. Well, that analogy of the car, it makes me think of when you get your driver's license. Mm-hmm. It's like that excitement. You're like, this is the coolest thing ever. I'm the coolest guy in the world. I'm pulling away without my parents. I got my own car. But then on a weekend, you're running errands. You're driving your brother's
traffic.
car. Yeah. You got to put oil in it. You got to put gas in it. You got to clean it. It becomes this responsibility. Yeah. Yeah. So that's fascinating. I just love, that was a good analogy. Yeah. So, man, there's a lot there, Stephen. So that was good. Sitting down and asking those 3 questions. Because I think what's interesting is we tend to, when we ask those 3 questions, we do it from the lens of the forehead, the failure. Yeah. The guy like me, I took you 6 years to graduate college. You're that guy. So your earning potential is literally this limited. Your job, your career is going to be like this big versus like at the end of the day, no, I want to impact people. You know,
your limitations are as big as your choices.
Limitations are as big as your choices. That's good.
Yeah. Limitations are as big as your choices. Here's what I mean by that. Everything that you want out of your life ultimately will be either gained or lost due to the choices that you make in that endeavor.
Yeah.
If you will focus hardcore on just constantly becoming a better version of yourself, learning more about what you need to know in any given specific area until you have mastered that area, then you are literally unstoppable as far as how far you can go. All right. Conversely, if you are constantly wearing a label of failure, we named a few of them, but whatever your label is, right? And men, we do that, right? Because we look at knights in shining armor, The Rock, right? And all these big dudes that, have it all figured out, seem to have it all. And we're like, I'm looking at my house. It's 1,000 square feet and I got this broken up car and I'm like, life's meaningless without, you're getting it wrong. Right. Ask The Rock what he fought through to get it. Where did he go? How did he change? How did he grow? How does his mindset have to shift? Limitations are defined by the choices. Make better choices and you'll have better results. It's literally that simple.
That's good. Yeah. And also you hit on earlier was then surrounding yourself with people that affirm that in you.
Yep.
And for a lot of those guys, when they put that label and they've kind of ran in a place, in a community, in a friend group that reinforced that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you felt that with your parents. They were kind of reinforced, like, this is all you're going to be.
Yeah.
And what did it take for you to start really putting more people like Steve and other people around you and to really like, oh man, I could, I'm not comparing myself and leading to disappointment. I'm I'm looking at them. I'm like, man, I love the way they do that. And I want to do it the way God uniquely made me to do that.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, like, for example, when I was 16 years old, right before I had the conversation with Steve, my father lost his first business. Okay. Worked really hard, built a good company, had an economy downturn. He wasn't paying attention. He wasn't prepared. He was heavily leveraged in debt and ended up costing him his business. Okay.
Yeah.
I remember after they had just repoed his truck out of our front driveway on his birthday, literally, that actually happened.
Right.
He looked at me and he said, Scoggins don't get ahead, they get by. Now, I recently did, a couple years ago, I did an Ancestry.com deep dive kind of thing. Right. I went down the rabbit trail, which is totally a rabbit trail. But I discovered something interesting. In over 400 years, almost 500 years, not a single Scoggins in my generation had ever been a person of affluence, influence, or impact. Okay? At 13 years old, I go down to the park, in the trailer park, and for some reason, I kneel down for the first time and I say, God, please let me be the one to break the generational curse.
Wow.
Okay? To this day, I'm the only one who owns his own business, employs hundreds of team members, and then tries to teach other people how to do the same thing. Okay. So first of all, that's proof that God is real. For those of you guys who are like, he's not really all. I'm like, all right, well, do what you got to do. Learn the hard way, like I did.
Right.
Or take it from me. Because there's really only two ways to learn, right? You can either learn from your mistakes or you can learn from the mistakes your mentors made.
Yeah. How about that?
One of those creates
really.
Exactly. Only one of those creates pain.
Yep. How about that? That's good. So yeah, I mean, unpack for me, something I'm fascinated with is the Christian business leader.
Sure.
And what does that mean for you? How do you create the culture that you feel like you're leading others in a way that Jesus would lead? And how do you create that culture? Yeah.
Yeah, no, so the easy answer is, first of all, it's important for me to tell you, I haven't always done it well. Okay. So for the first 10 years I was in business, while my company had a great reputation and we were making money, we were doing business and all this kind of stuff. I didn't want people to know that I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
Okay. They did not know that I had been homeless. They did not know I was a high school dropout. They didn't know any of that stuff. They just thought I was a fierce little feisty little booger that just would bark a lot. Right.
Right.
Now, what they didn't know is I actually genuinely cared about them. I genuinely wanted them to succeed.
Yeah.
However, even though that was my intention, that wasn't necessarily my action.
Right.
Okay. And how do people judge you? By your actions, not your intentions.
Yeah.
Okay. So I say that with a caveat. And the reason I say that is because it's important, because I think, especially in my early 20s, all the way up to almost 30, I was in the self-reflection mode of trying to understand why I would get defensive, why I felt the need to push, why I felt the need to overdo some things. Okay. Mm-hmm. I then had an apology process, and I went back to my team and said, guys, I'm so sorry for being a dork. I'm so sorry. Like it was literally almost just like that. But then I chose to say, okay, I need to define what great leadership is. Mm-hmm. I need to define what great leadership looks like in action. And I need to define what great leadership could be if I didn't hold myself back.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, we go to the next step. The next step in the journey is to use something that I'm a pretty big fan of. Jesus said it, which is love one another as I have loved you, AKA treat other people how you want to be treated.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. If you can make your leadership 101, okay, when in doubt, give the credit away, but take on the blame.
Yeah.
Okay. When in doubt, you don't know what to do. Maybe you just killed it. Maybe you just made an awesome touchdown for yourself, right? In the business sense, right? You just killed it. Rather than saying, look at me, I made a touchdown. Yeah. Turn around and say, guys, you see my offensive line? Dude, they rocked. Right. They blocked everything. Mm-hmm. They kept that big refrigerator from hitting me.
Right.
You give away the credit. However, same correspondence, same analogy. Let's say that I just fumbled the ball. Okay? Not the offensive line's fault. It's my fault. Guys, I totally screwed the pooch on that one. I'm so sorry. I'm going to learn from it. I'm going to be better. All right? Leaders don't normally do that, especially bad leaders. Bad leaders have it reversed. Mm-hmm. It was awesome. I did it. It sucked. What was wrong with y'all? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Great Leadership 101 puts the needs of the team first, and every team needs to be encouraged and inspired on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
I was going to say, well, what happens when the running back runs the wrong way and causes you to fumble?
Well, in that case, you can just say, hey, running back, let's go have a blame game together.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
It's still take part. It's
not about singling yourself out, all right, to be better or worse than you actually are. Mm-hmm. It's about letting people know it's okay to say, I screwed up. I don't want to do it again. Let's learn a new way and let's not do it again. Mm-hmm. You're taking the perfection off of people, because people that strive for perfection rarely achieve it.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? We have this term called striving for excellence. All right. Do the absolute best you possibly can with the role and responsibilities that you have been given, period. Okay. Yeah,
which is
biblical. If I can look across the table from you and I know that you gave me your best, but I know you still didn't work out for our favor, I'm still going to love you.
Right.
I'm still going to pat you on the back. Say, all right, well, let's see it. Let's look at how you ran the play. Mm-hmm. All right. Let's look at the tape. All right. We'll see this guy over here. That's where you missed right there. You didn't see him. He was in your blind spot. Make sure you check your blind spot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's good.
The second thing that I would say, and treat people how you want to be treated, is you have to understand that your team all has a few things in common. Okay? Every person on your team wants to feel seen, valued, heard, and appreciated. And if it's always your idea, and it's always your strategy, and it's always your action, and you shut people down because they have an idea, and somehow you take a self-esteem hit because you're like, well, you're not using my idea. Well, how dare you? Which I have done.
Right.
Then you are in the wrong. A wise person allows everybody else at the table to say something before they ever speak.
Yeah.
Why? Because you're going to hear different perspectives and insights, which by the time you are ready to speak and share, you're going to have a lot more wisdom to make the presentation from. And whenever possible, choose someone on your team and let them run their play. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. Man, I just think that's just a fascinating topic just in this world, especially I I could say maybe in the South, maybe it is like we think Christian business leader looks like having a Bible study, when really we're called to lead people in a way that brings them more into relationship with Jesus, more into who they are, more into what they want to do. Anyway, so that's just that. I
have a question for you. Got a question for you.
Yeah.
All right. So here's my question for you. Do you think the disciples learn more by listening to Jesus or watching Jesus?
Watching. A lot of times they didn't get it when he said something.
Yep. Christian business owner 101. Your team is always watching.
That's good.
So when in doubt, walk as close to Jesus as possible.
Mm-hmm. That's
good. Things will happen.
That's awesome. Well, my final question I got to ask you, Stephen, is speaking of serving the person you used to be, what is one thing you would tell a 25-year-old, tell your 25-year-old self that you know now?
Focus on the right priority.
Right priority.
Here's what I mean by that. In my early 20s, mid 20s, almost up to my 30s, before it really kind of started to stick. Science, I guess, has figured out that apparently our brains don't even fully develop till we're 30, which is nuts to me, but it is what it is. I was focused on being seen, being valued, being heard, and being appreciated. See how that all comes back, right?
Yeah, how about that? Yeah.
So I was focused on that. However, I was focused on that by accumulating stuff, finance, relationships, arm candy, all that stuff kind of scenario to then show to other people, my buddies, my family, or whatever. Look at me. And you do it subtly. And if you're honest with yourself, everybody's done it. And some of us are still doing it. Okay. My 25-year-old self, if I could go back and tell my 25-year-old self to focus on the priority, the number one question I think he would ask is, well, what's the priority?
Yeah.
The priority is creating a legacy that outlives you. That's the priority.
That's good.
Your decisions, your actions, your everything around you, wrapped up in you, is designed to have such an impact on the lives of other people that when you're not here anymore, they're still talking about you.
Yeah, that's good.
And that only happens if you make them feel a specific way or you help them transform their lives from the inside out, which is precisely why I built Transform You.
Yeah, that's good. Well, that's a good transition. What is you mentioned already another resource at StephenScoggins.com. What's another resource that my audience would really benefit from?
Well, it depends on when they're going to watch or listen to this. If they're going to watch and listen to it before October 21st to the 23rd, I would say come to Transform You Live.
All right.
You go to transformyoulive.com. In that, it's 3 days of what you just heard here on this podcast, elevated, amplified, and it's no joke, a great time.
Yeah.
Okay. Second of all, I've got 13 thought leaders from around the country. Tom Bilyeu, Lisa Bilyeu, Evan Carmichael, Anthony Trucks, Amberly Lago, Ray Higdon, Ira Davis, Brad R. Lambert. I got a lot more.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
right?
Awesome. Yeah.
In the same place at the same time, where you can actually learn how to actually enhance literally every area of your life. And the reason that most conferences are not as successful as Transform You is because they try to give everybody a 30,000-foot view and then expect them to overlay it with their individual lives. What we do differently is we give you a strategy to implement based on where you are at in your life. Okay?
That's good.
So picture it this way. I'm coming to walk with you rather than talking at you.
Yeah.
Okay. And as a result, we've had incredible testimonials and stuff like that from previous events where people just radical shift, man. I mean, look, if the number one thing, again, is designed to help you become more of who you were designed to be, you need things like this to help you do that.
Yeah.
So come and be my guest. You can do it virtually or live, but come and check out Transform You Live.
Man, that's awesome. Well, Stephen, I appreciate you coming on. It was a blast.
My pleasure, man. I had a great time.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Mentor Forge podcast. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please rate, review, subscribe to the Mentor Forge podcast on Apple and Spotify. Also check out mentorforge.com for coaching courses and content. Thanks for listening.